is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Want to just say thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. And remember, we're free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure that you leave us a 5-star review. You know why you need to do that? Because everybody and their mama will find out about the greatness that we have going right here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Because the people that have subscribed, they know about what's going on. Because we're almost at 4,000 subscribers. We need you all to keep on subscribing. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting on? Your life depending on making sure you make that final decision, because we are here just for you. But coming up on the show today, I really feel like, T, that the Atlanta Braves can catch the New York Mets right here and right now. And did Arthur Smith kind of hint at Drake London being available for the Saints on Sunday? Ooh, and last but not least, and for the culture, people just will always find a way to hate. Man, golly, get a life. We'll talk about all that. But first, the Braves over the weekend, they swept the Marlins. That was something that we expected them to do. We talked about that on Friday, T. And I think that for them to sweep the Marlins, I think that there's a lot at stake right now, especially since the Braves are only one game back in the National League East.
Yes. This 8-game road trip is going to be critical for the Braves because, it is an opportunity for them to finally get over the hump with the Mets. Now, it's going to be a daunting task because you do have the Mets with a far easier schedule. When you look at those last 28 games of the season, right, that schedule is still looming because, at the end of the day, we're talking about a team in the Mets that literally has to play the Braves and the Brewers. That's it. So about 7 of those 28 games are with opponents that are viable opponents. The Braves, however, have a little bit of a difficult stretch, even in this road trip, because, of course, they're taking on the Mariners, and the Mariners are rolling. So I just hope that the Braves can maybe continue their winning ways. We're talking about 6 games in a row. Going for their 6th game in a row. I think that if they can just stay focused, and we can keep seeing out of their pitching staff, the starting pitching staff, Kyle Wright, seeing what we saw in him with that last outing, and also maybe a little, and I don't even know if you call it revenge, because getting away from the Oakland A's is not a bad thing for Matt Olson, right? But maybe just a little bit of a revenge tour, kind of looking like his last game. Remember, they had the 2-game series back in June, and the second game Matt had was a really nice game, 2 for 5, 1 RBI. So I feel like when some of those things kind of happen, and Matt's been on a tear as well of recent, then those are things that bode well for the Braves. And of course, as well, anytime you continue to see the rookies do what they're doing, and Ronald Acuna Jr. still looking like he looks, assuming, Jarvis, that he's maybe DHing tonight and he'll get the day off tomorrow for the day game. I think the start that trip will bode well for the Braves.
No doubt about it. And to add to kind of like the whole Met situation, here's why I think that the Braves can catch them, because just looking from the other side, not giving all the thing that you laid out, I totally agree as far as what the Braves are doing right now. They're rolling right now. I think they're in a really good space. But just from the Mets standpoint, now just go back a little bit. They just pulled Max Scherzer early because he was having some left side issues, right? Yes. That's one thing. That's one strike. And the second strike is they're kind of wondering whether or not how far they're going to push Jacob deGrom as far as what he's going to do. So not necessarily what the Braves are doing is the reason why I believe. It's because I think the Mets are finally maybe potentially starting to Met at a time that, is a very bad time, because like you mentioned, we have less than 30 games left in the season. And I think that this is something that is going to affect the Mets, because without those 2 guys that I just named, Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer, the Mets are kind of, they're okay. But when those 2 guys are on the mound, they are a very scary baseball team. And I think that the Braves have a big opportunity right here, starting out with the Oakland A's, 9:40, his first pitch, Kyle Wright on the mound, a guy who's going for 20 games. So more than enough incentive to go out there and show well tonight on the West Coast. But I think that there is another team that played at Mercedes-Benz. We talked about the Falcons playing at Mercedes-Benz on Sunday. The Georgia Bulldogs played against the Oregon Ducks, and they look different. We'll talk about that, but before we do that, please tell the folks about what Built Barr got going on for the Locked On listeners and viewers.
Yeah, and so like you said, with the Mets, there are some things that are showing us a downward trend. Their pitching staff, the fact that they did met against the Nats. So that is also something that's a good look on the baseball side. And on the side of your health, a good look is Built.com.
Yes.
So Built has come back. You know them. They invented the healthy yet easy to go down, tasty snack. Guess what? They are back. They've done it again. This time it's cookie dough chunk puffs. And how many of us don't like cookie dough? You kind of know that from your childhood, right? So it's a light and chewy texture, just like you remember from when you were a kid. It's real cookie dough chunks. And of course, it's 100% real chocolate. But what we always like to tell you about here as Jarvis and I continue on our health journeys is when you can get a Built Bar or a chunk puff that's 116 calories, but you can also get 15 grams of protein, that is a win-win. So again, you're looking at collagen protein, one of the best proteins that's available because it absorbs things so efficiently. So again, that's good for you. And listen, we're all looking for healthy snacks. So that's a healthy snack, whether you're coming from your workout or whether you are trying to get through that ATL traffic, this is for you. So how can you grab it? You go to Built.com, go ahead and put your order in for that box of cookie dough chunk puffs. And as always, use that code locked 15% to get that 15% off your order. That's Built.com using the promo code locked on 15. Your body will thank you.
Yes, they will thank you and continue to thank you as you go through your journey as well. Now, the Stetson Bennett has been on a journey, right? He was talked about very badly by me. I was one of those folks that talked about Stetson Bennett. Yeah, put JT Daniels in the game. Yeah, he shut me up. Won national championship last year. And I think that was one of the things we talked about, what we were looking for. Like, okay, what can a Stetson Bennett look like in year two at going into the season, as the starter? This was his first time doing that. And he absolutely killed it. Throwing for over 360-some yards, yards with 3 touchdowns. And the offense was so efficient. They went 9 for 9 on third downs before Oregon figured out a way to stop them on third down. And it was just an absolute onslaught. And this offense looks very, very different.
Yeah, it does. And what I liked about it is when you think about the fact that Georgia is essentially still RBU and the 3 top running backs combined. Now, the team had 132 yards total rushing. But the important thing is when you look at Kendall Milton and you look at Kenny McIntosh, they were under 100 yards as a group. So if Georgia's able to do this kind of damage in the passing game as their running game is kind of getting up to speed, I think that's a good look. And as well, you look at, and we were thinking about that O-line, right? We said, that might be an advantage because that is a group where you do return many more starters in the trenches on the O-line side for Georgia than you do on the defensive side for Georgia. But guess what? That defense showed all the way out. Malachi Starks is the truth as a freshman.
Come on now.
The SEC co-defensive player of the week, Chris Smith, was the truth. And they showed you that even though it may not be, in the complete stats, maybe in terms of getting a sack or what have you, or getting multiple sacks or those kinds of pressures on the QB, they gave Bo Nix the business. They still gave him the business. So, yeah, when you're not doing the things that we're accustomed to you doing, running roughshod over an offense or a defense, if you will, or on defense, just literally bulldozing your way through, and you're still 59 points ahead. I chuckled because I said you and I thought it was going to be deep into the third or fourth quarter before they could even cover the spread. Man,
look. They was like, no, we're going to get this out of the way in the first half. Don't even worry about it. We got you. That's the thing about, another thing coming into the season, the big thing was like, okay, how can you – because a lot of times when you win a national championship in college football, like it is very hard to repeat. But I think that when this team kind of – the way – given that how so many people left on defense, right? We talked about how great they look, but still – there you still have to reinvent yourself, right? Because what's new, what's different from the team the year before? Super uber dominant defense last year, right? But this year, Todd Monken opened up the playbook because you talked about the running backs, not getting 100 yards, but shoot, McIntosh caught 9 for 117.
Yeah, 117,
and he led the team. So
wait a minute.
That's a whole nother element you have to be concerned about as a defense. I think Todd Monken put the rest of the SEC and the rest of the country on notice. And I think that is something that you got to consider when you talk about these rankings now. Now Georgia number 3, but from what I saw, based off the team that they played and the preseason rankings, this don't look like the third-ranked team overall to me. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think at least they'll jump Ohio State. At least I think they should jump Ohio State. The only way they don't is if the pundits that vote in the AP poll consider the fact that Ohio State beat a ranked team, right? And so that might be, the deciding factor. And of course, Alabama, you're number 1, and then you shut a team out 55-0. Gonna kind of be hard to overtake you, if you will. So I wouldn't be shocked if Georgia stays in the number 3 spot. But if you ask me where I think they should land, number 2, no question.
And you know what? Georgia made Oregon look like they were unranked, but they were 11th coming into the season.
And I should say, like a top, but when it's Notre Dame, you're talking about the top 6. Let me rephrase that. When you're talking about the top 6, you're talking about the teams that are essentially at the beginning of the season looking to be the contenders to get to the college football playoff.
Yeah, right.
That still is that could potentially rank, and that's Notre Dame, which essentially, as an independent, still is a higher thing than if you're Pac-12. Let's just be real.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, and that's the thing that goes into the voting every year. We always wonder, like, all right, how did Notre Dame get this high again? But it wasn't all good. At Mercedes-Benz, yesterday, Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, they started off okay. From a score standpoint, they held it down. DJU looked very DJU like, but unfortunately, Georgia Tech falls to Clemson. Now, the one thing that, I said that, I wanted to kind of see from the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, even though I wasn't really expecting them to be to win the game, but you still want to see some type of progression, and I just haven't really seen that. Jeff Sims looked exactly like Jeff Sims play. You'll see a couple play, oh, wow, that's great play. And the next thing you know, oh, wow, what happened? And that could be within back-to-back plays. So,
yes.
So my whole thing is, Jeff Collins came in with a lot of hoopla, a lot of promises. He made a lot of promises but it just seems like this is the same team that we saw towards the end of Paul Johnson's tenure as the head coach of this team.
Agreed. And when you think about the fact that they played Clemson last year extremely close, and we know that Clemson has reloaded. They learned their lesson from last year, and they're like,
yeah.
But if you're looking at it from just a pure perspective of competing, well, Georgia Tech, you supposedly got better too. So if they got better, even if it's exponentially better, and you got better, but it wasn't exponential, 41-10, that's a 31-point gap. You had about a 3-point gap last year against Clemson. So to me, yes, that seems like a Tech is going to Tech, and I hate it because we all love Jeff Collins, but at the end of the day, this is one of those situations, Jarvis. Well, I'll be honest with you. I said to someone just last night, Jeff Collins may not make it through the season.
Yeah, I talked to some people, some alumni who followed that team very, very closely, and they said that it is on the table that he could get fired during the season. That hopefully that's not the case, but like I said, at the end of the day, it's all about the results. Speaking of results, the Atlanta Falcons drafted Drake London with the 8th overall pick in this year's draft. And we may have got word that he may see the field. We'll talk about all that next right here on ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and T.
Welcome back to ATL Day Ones. I am Tenitra. That is Jarvis. And you guys are our family that we appreciate you guys coming back, especially on the other side of a long holiday weekend and continuing to just download us wherever you get your podcasts. Appreciate that and the 5-star reviews. And we also appreciate you guys getting us as a Locked On Sports Atlanta network almost to 4,000 subscribers. So keep subscribing, keep telling friends and family. We appreciate you guys. And we know that there is something that you guys can appreciate in what you are about to see, maybe in the next 5 days. We are T-minus 5 days to the Falcons taking the field for their 2022 campaign. Of course, the season opener against the Saints. So in that game, we kind of wonder. The roster was trimmed down to 53 last week. Practice squad was started. We saw who fell on IR and who did not. And two people that were not on IR would be that of Drake London and Bryan Edwards, right? So that kind of gave us some indication, they may be back on the mend and on the return. And of course, they returned to practice on Monday. So that got people to thinking and asking some questions of Coach Arthur Smith, one of which was, will we see Drake London in game one? His answer, he's progressing. And then when he was asked if, again, do you anticipate that London will be available? Smith said, we'll see what it looks like. So do you think that's an indicator, at least from London's perspective, that he'll play?
You know what? I think he'll play, but I think it'll be on a limited basis because when you think about how the Falcons have handled his whole situation, they've been very, very careful. Sometimes some people may even think that they may be a little bit too careful, which I can respect that, at the end of the day. Of course, I want to see Drake London play and see what he's working with. But I think that if you have a guy who's had a little injury history in the past and he has an injury on that particular leg that he's had in the past, you kind of got to use baby steps. I hope no pun intended when it comes to, a rookie wide receiver, and I think you have to work him in from time whenever you can. So I think that they'll get a good look at him this week. And I think that he'll play, but it'll definitely be on a limited basis, T, because I think you can't risk it too much because, like you said, you have some viable guys, you have some targets. Mariota has more people. Even if Drake London is out there, he'll still have more people to throw to than Matt Ryan did all last season.
Exactly. Yeah. There's still that unicorn out there who's going to be quite fine for the Falcons. And also, if they do get Bryan Edwards back, and again, maybe they work Bryan Edwards in as well, but you also have some decent pass catchers in the running back room. So if you combine that tight end room with the running back room and some serviceable receivers, you should still be able to have a viable passing game and a passing attack with the Saints coming in on Sunday. And let's just face it, their secondary isn't exactly their strong suit this season. So that may be also another area where maybe advantage Falcons, we shall see. But, when I think about that as well, I agree with you. You don't want to rush Drake London along if you don't have to. And you do. And because you have someone who, and I love what Marcus Mariota said as well, because we kind of think about it also from a mental standpoint, right? Like, is he going to be someone who can jump right into whatever the game plan is that Arthur Smith and Dave are going to put in place? And Marcus Mariota said, hey, from the day he was drafted, going through OTAs, training camp, et cetera, he's one of the guys that literally picked up the schemes super, super fast. And so he does not doubt that when he returns, he'll be able to pick up where he left off with no issue whatsoever. So to me, I thought that was also very encouraging to hear your QB1 say that he has the confidence that if you are inserted back into the lineup, you'll be able to be inserted, despite the fact that by that time, you will have been away from game action for a month. He believes and is confident that Drake London can indeed come back and have an impact and pick up very, very quickly. But speaking of having an impact, it always does on this show for Jarvis. So tell the guys about Coffee AM that keeps you up and going.
You know what? I always pick up Coffee AM up very quickly in the morning because, I always get my day started super, super early because I'm, like T and I talked about, we always say, we get off a good day, and we got to get a good workout in because, that's what we're trying to do, make sure we carry ourselves accordingly. And I know sometimes I need a little pick-me-up, and you can go to coffeeam.com/locked-on if you want to get a pick-me-up as well. I'm going to tell you why in just a little bit, because I love my Kenya K-Cups. I absolutely love those bad boys because when I like to go a little quicker. Sometimes it takes a little, the grind, coffee takes a little bit longer. So, let me go. I need to get quick. I need to get quick, fast, in a hurry. So I drop that K-Cup in my coffee maker. I hit that drip button. And then next thing you know, boom, I got my Coffee AM right there to get my morning going. So for all the people who are asking why you should go there, I just told you. And then for the people who are saying, like, once I get there, like, you got to give me some incentive to go there, Jarvis. I got you. Calm down. I got you. So here's what you do. coffeeam.com/locked-on. Drop in the code Locked On, and you're going to get 15% off all coffee gift sets and teas. Whatever you want, go get it. And it's going to be off of your first order, so that's 15% off. All you got to do is drop in the coupon code box Locked On and go ahead and pull up on the best small batch coffee roaster in the entire country.
And speaking of the best, arguably in this country, in the NFL, Kyle Pitts.
Yes.
We are going to see, and it's funny because as much as we're talking about Drake London and Bryan Edwards and what that could mean to the passing attack for the Falcons, at the end of the day, that offense will start and stop with Kyle Pitts. And so when you look at Kyle Pitts, year one versus year two, it looks like he really is becoming a more well-rounded player. But how do you think that actually impacts specifically, that has an impact on the Falcons offense?
You know what? When you think about like the type of player that he is, right? When you look at Kyle Pitts, you wouldn't necessarily, if it was 10 years ago, you like, you don't play no doggone tight end, boy, you're a wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? Like, you like Randy Moss, you know what I mean? Like, or Jake Reed or some super big body wide receiver that, you know, just freakishly athletic, right? But I think that those some of the things that we learned last year, right? But coming in, and the thing that I really appreciated about Kyle is, like, I'll never forget this. When coming into the season against the Philadelphia Eagles, I asked him what was the thing that he wanted to put on display as an Atlanta Falcon and the rookie. He was like, his first thing came out of his mouth with no hesitation. He said, my blocking. I want to put that on display. And this was as a rookie tight end because, you know, rookie tight ends coming into the league now really don't even have to worry about blocking. But I think Kyle Pitts is a guy that this is something that he want to work on. I think coming into year two, like you mentioned, being more comfortable, just being comfortable in who he is. Like we've seen that progression, and I think that he's added that to his game as far from a blocking standpoint. Even the defense core DNPs talked about it. Like, man, this dude being able to block as well, that means you can add him to every formation. And think about the play caller that is Arthur Smith. And I'm going to champion Arthur Smith as being one of the better play callers in the NFL because he makes things easy for his quarterbacks, right? So if you're able to add Kyle Pitts into whatever formation you want to know, because a lot of times when you bring Kyle Pitts into the game, especially last year because he lined up outside so much, it was just like, oh yeah, he's a wide receiver, he's not a tight end. But when you talk about doing that this year, being that he's gotten better as a blocker, that's going to have defense coordinators guessing as to formation, because a lot of times they call plays accordingly to what formation or what the personnel is in the huddle, right? So that's going to throw everything off from a defensive standpoint, and that's going to open up so much for Arthur Smith, who will say he is a really good play caller. That's going to put a lot of defenses on notice around the NFC South and around the NFL.
Yeah. And in addition to what he does on the field, what he's going to do physically, I think what Kyle Pitts brings to the table as far as bringing along the tight end room and bringing along the wide receiver room, I think that's huge as well. So helping a Drake London to have the game slow down a little bit faster. Let's be honest, he didn't have a lot of that last year per se, right? Because there were tight ends in the tight end room fighting for their lives. And well, we know what happened to wide receiver one. So he really did not have a lot of the mentoring opportunities per se that he can give to a Drake London or more importantly, a Felipe Franks. Because when you look at Arthur Smith and the fact that Felipe Franks made this roster, and we know that Arthur Smith loves 2 tight end sets. So you're going to see 12 personnel. You might even see 13. This to me speaks volumes about what Kyle Pitts is doing to also help to spread that offense and make that offense diverse, because we saw him during training camp talking to Felipe Franks and giving him some insight and some guidance on what the field should look like from a tight end's perspective versus just a quarterback's perspective. So I suspect that Kyle Pitts, to your point, rounding out his game, but also not just rounding out his physical game, but his mental game, I think that's going to be a big piece for the Falcons as well. So when we come back, we're going to talk about someone who has rounded out her game quick, fast, and in a hurry to let us know that the game of tennis is in good hands. But we're also going to be talking about someone who doesn't understand who left it in good hands. We'll talk about that and for the culture, as well as, of course, some petty when we come back.
Final segment of ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. We want to say thank you for rocking with us throughout the entire show. Thank you for hitting that like button. Thank you for hitting that subscribe button. Thank you for leaving us a 5-star review. We just really appreciate y'all, man, because we are rocking and rolling towards 4,000. If you're watching this show or listening to this show and you have not subscribed or left us a review, what in the world are you waiting on? Like, stop being a procrastinator. Go ahead and get with this greatness. That's our new motto right here. Get with this greatness. But T, this is For the Culture. It is the intersection between sports, the culture, and entertainment. Sometimes, whatever the hell we want to talk about, because that's just how we get down on this show. Today is no different because Margaret Court, for those of you who don't know, I'm probably sure there are a lot of you who don't. You probably just know about the number that she achieved, and that's 24 Grand Slam titles. Which was what the record that was Serena Williams was chasing, but she did not. Unfortunately, she did not reach that. She had 23, but I think it's safe to say that Serena Williams has had a bigger impact on the game than Margaret Court. But she decided to, and that's why she said that she admired Serena Williams for that. But apparently, she was looking for that in return, and she felt like she couldn't get that in return. You know, now if you admire somebody, is it proper protocol? Because, you know, I'm a petty. I don't care about all that. You know, is it proper protocol to expect the same admiration that you give to a certain person, or is that defeats the whole purpose?
Yeah, it's interesting because I was under the impression that when we give, we don't give expecting something in return. Yeah, and I thought that went across every aspect of life. So do we want the accolades to be mutual? Absolutely. That's just human nature. Like if you give someone something, or if you say thank you, you want them to say thank you back, right? Human nature. However, just because you are giving her kudos and accolades does not mean she has to give that back to you, especially because where have you been in terms of your support? And what accolades are you talking about? Because I've never heard anyone reference Margaret Court giving accolades to Serena Williams. So I find that very interesting that I've never heard commentators talk about that. I've never heard some of the bigs like a Billie Jean King, who's been a supporter from day one.
Who's a monster in tennis, by the way.
There you go. I've never heard any of those who have come out and spoken on Serena's behalf talk about Margaret Court being that person. That's number one that made it an issue for me. Another thing that made it an issue for me was her trying to compare apples to oranges. Yes, you can say that you beat the number 3 player in the world at that time, but how many of those matches did you play against amateurs? All pretty much of your matches were against amateurs. Serena Williams for 22 years did not play against amateurs, played against the best in the world, overtook them over and over and over again. So miss me with, I had 2 kids and I still won a couple of, majors. Yeah, you did, but you won them against amateurs. And the final piece of that is this. At the end of the day, you still looked like everybody who took the court. So you were never going to experience the vitriol that Serena Williams had to face during her career. And she talked about that, the fact that this was the first time in her career that she didn't feel like she was playing with a target on her back. And that wasn't just a target because she was number 1 in the world for so many years. That was also a target because she was an African-American female that played the game with power. She had a different look altogether, a different serve, a different everything, but stood in her diversity and was comfortable in it. So if we're talking about all things considered, Margaret Court, then we can have some commentary. Otherwise, like they say, take several seats.
Have several seats, all of them, because it is just right there waiting on you, Mrs. Court or Miss Court. Probably not married, probably doing that. But anyway, we're gonna get in that. But I think that I think you make a great point because when you think about all of the things that you just mentioned, right, like trying to justify her even make commenting about it, right? The whole, I had 2 babies and all that stuff. It makes me not believe that you ever admired her. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, hey, look at me. And when you have people bringing up themselves within these type moments when it should be all about Serena, about the queen, that just tells me all about you as a person and who you are. And to be honest with you, like my co-host said, have several seats and keep it moving. But T, I think that, we talked about, Serena Williams and what she's done for the game, but as she's making graciously exiting the world of tennis, how about Coco Golf coming in, kicking the door with the 4-4? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that she absolutely did her thing. Like, she's the youngest, one of the youngest persons to make it
Yeah.
to the quarterfinals.
Yes.
Since 2009. So this is an absolute big deal. I think the youngest was 17, so she's
Mhm.
18. And I think that, even her father was talking about just the atmosphere
Yes.
in the arena in New York, of all the people just cheering for her daughter. He said it was deafening. Like, that is amazing. When you're talking about a tennis match now, like, we're not talking about a football game or anything like that. When you talk about the excitement that people have about Little Miss Golf, I think this is like absolutely, it's so exciting for me, and I think it's absolutely huge that we have this in the weekend or the week that we saw Serena kind of exit out the tournament. We are seeing Coco Golf come in ready to roll.
Yeah, and ready to introduce everybody to her millennial culture, if you will.
Yeah, I know.
And
Yeah, that's
yeah,
the cool thing about it. Yeah.
yeah, I love it because Serena also paved the way for that. She was
Yes.
the one who had the nails and who had the fly uniforms that people had never seen,
And
like
crip walking on the
on
tennis court after a
Wimbledon
win.
at
My
that. Yes,
Wimbledon.
yes,
Crip walking.
exactly. Yes.
Yes. Crip walking and Wimbledon in the same sentence. That is absolutely amazing.
Right.
I love
And right. And at first,
it.
everybody was like, oh, clutch the pearls. But after a while, you realize that Serena's going to be Serena. Like, that's
Yes.
never, you clutching your pearls is not going to stop her from being who she is. And I believe that gave players like Coco Gauff the license to be able to say something like period, or to be able to wag that finger and say, not today,
Yeah.
because Serena did that for her. But I love that Coco is walking in it and embracing it, because now you've got pundits and people who 2 days ago did not know who Young Miami was. Now they're like, who are these city girls she speaks of?
City
What is this
girls.
period with a T? What does this mean? I'm unsure. Is she
Love it.
offend? I think it's being offensive to her, to her competitors. Nah, that's just what we say in the culture. There's the word period with the D, but when we put the T on it, that tells you it is final, it's over, it's done. And she wasn't necessarily directing that to her opponent. For her, it was more about what she felt like she was doing to put her stamp on the game, the set, the match, and hopefully on the game of tennis. So I love it. That's that Atlanta swag all day, every day, even though I know city girls aren't from here, but I'm just saying. When I saw it, I was like, yeah, I said, man, she's swag surfing on them already. Y'all better
Yes.
get ready, because this chick is going to be a bad, bad girl on and off the court. And I expect her to be, as we're seeing so much in this world of sports intersecting with entertainment and the like, she's going to be an influencer, and I'm here for it.
Yes, and the Williams sister are the reason that she's able to do that. And I think that she understands that and we understand that. And it's absolutely beautiful that we get a chance to see it for the next at least 10 years
Yes.
that she plays in the game of tennis. Now, another on the court player, Trey Young. He's really good. He was showing his homeboy a little love. Now, we know Donovan Mitchell and Trey Young have a nice relationship, and he just got traded over to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And Trey Young took it out of, say, hey, man, welcome to the Eastern Conference. But within that, though, T, he was being a little petty to the New York Knicks. And when I say I absolutely love when athletes, specifically ones who play for the Atlanta teams, become petty towards an organization that has some of the most annoying fans in the NBA. I'm all here for it, T. I'm having a seat and I'm just watching, and I got my popcorn ready to roll.
Yes, Trey. Thank you so very
Thank you,
much
sir.
for giving us this. Like, just, I don't even know what to say. And the funny thing is, in the video, it shows Donovan Mitchell, who, his nickname is Spider. So it shows him with the Spider-Man uniform on in Cavs colors, of course. And so he pulls the mask off and you see that it's him, right? And he's in the Cavs locker room. But being that I have a little bit of petty myself, I was like, ooh, Spider-Man, that's Gotham. So I was like, oh, I'm sure that did not get lost on Trey. And then, of course, the video plays to this girl who has on her Knicks baseball cap, and she's in the mirror saying some ugly things because, of course, the Knicks wanted Donovan Mitchell and just could not pull it
Yes,
off.
they lusted for
Just,
Donovan Mitchell, and
right.
they didn't get him.
That's what I was going to say. Man, you won, Donovan Mitchell, and you know you won with that. But yeah, just to have that kind of trolling, it's like that is Trey on 10.
Yes, love
And
it.
it's like
Yes,
literally you just go to your calendar and you start saying to yourself, okay, I know they're going to play him 4 times this year. When is the first time? Because let me go and get my ticket because I need to be in the building. I
yes,
need to be in
Lord.
the building when these Knicks come to town for the first time because Jarvis, that this trolling, this is only the beginning. Like,
Yes,
this is only the
it
beginning.
just
We're going to
starts.
see this over and over and over again. So, in case you were wondering, Hawks fans, it looks like the Knicks aren't coming to town until January 20th. So, it's one of those things again where, Trey has to go and play up in Gotham first. But the good news is, he is going to act a donkey, especially because remember, he's still seething because who's playing on Christmas Day and who's not? Knicks playing, Trey not. Just saying.
Just saying. Now you make sure you all come back tomorrow because we, as you know, Falcons taking on the Saints on Sunday. We have the big preview coming up. We're talking about Arthur Smith and what he has going on. He's been saying a lot. Arthur Smith is doing a lot of talking in the first week of
Yes.
NFL football. And make sure you all come back. T,
Yes.
tell them about what else we got going on for
And the
tomorrow.
reason they need to come back is because Jarvis and I are going to download on the information that we just got a little sneak peek into that depth chart. So you guys wanted to know about Drake London. We already told you we thought he was going to play. Guess where he is on the depth chart? Wide receiver 1. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. We'll talk about Bryan Edwards, who's wide receiver 2 on the depth chart as well. And of course, we hope to download on a Braves win. So have a great afternoon. We will see you tomorrow.
Y'all come back now. You hear?